Good evening, Wilson community members. Welcome to the board meeting for Wilson Board of Education on Tuesday, July 26th, 2022. Again, I usually mention if you're here in person, obviously there's a point you can make a public statement. But if you're not in person and you'd like to make that statement, please don't hesitate to call the board clerk at 751-7399, and Mrs. Pavan will get your comment or your question to the board. At this time, I'll turn the board meeting over to President Waters.
Thank you, Superintendent Carter. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, under 1B, approved meeting minutes dated July 12, 2022. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Under special presentations, Superintendent Carter, A, School Resource Officer, Public Thought.
Thank you, President Waters. As board members, you know, on June 21st, we had a public forum in which the Niagara County Sheriff and a number of school resource officers, former and current school resource officers, met and answered questions and talked about the role of a school resource officer. Following that presentation, the district sent out this question through a program called Thought Exchange. Thought Exchange is new to the district, and what it allows the district to do is to gauge stakeholders' thoughts and which direction they go on a certain topic. So if you look at the questions, what is some of the important perspective Wilson CSD needs to consider as we plan to make a decision about adding a school resource officer? I want to kind of go through that presentation for anyone watching and for the board about what the community said in regards to this, this question. And the next slide. On the next slide, you can see that there were 381 community members, parents, and it'll break it down in a minute, but all different community members, both inside the district and outside the district, that have participated in this thought exchange. And 199 thoughts were put up, and which is awesome, but even more impressive, there were 5,795 ratings. So there's two parts to this to figure out or to gauge where people's thinking is around this question. Is one is, what is the actual thought that they put out about or what we need to know or consider when we're trying to make a decision around a school resource officer. And then the second part is, which is unique to this program, is that everyone who enters into this can rate other people's thoughts on a scale of 1 to 5. So they may see somebody's comment and they might really think highly of it and rate it a 5, or they may think, it really doesn't pertain to this conversation and they'll rate it a 1. So you really not only get to see people's thoughts, but you get their perspective on how they rate other people's thoughts. So that's the breakdown on how many participants were in this exchange. Of that exchange, in that exchange, 12% or 45 teachers participated, 8 administrators, 13 support staff, 6 board members, 267 parents and guardians, 10 community members, and 11 others participated in this thought exchange. In the next slide, which of these apply to the public forum? In other words, the first one is, did I attend the public forum? 36 of the people who made comments attended the public forum. 167 did not attend a public forum. 60 didn't attend a public forum but watched the video of the forum. 45 did not attend it but read the slides, and 33 did none of the above. And they just put a audit. This is kind of neat for two reasons. One, this takes everybody's, this is a word scattergram, and it takes everybody's thoughts and it pulls out common words or words that are mentioned more over and over and over and over. And there's two reasons that's important for this program. One, the larger the word, the more often the word comes up in people's comments. So the word staff, parents, protect, positive, important, enforcement, law day, officer, safety, resource, children, safe, relationship, security. Those were mentioned the most. The other reason it's important is when we get to the theming, that's where they get the theme categories from. And you'll see that in a moment. That is very small. My apologies. And mine's pretty small too, so I'm going to do my best reading it. The key thoughts, the ones that jump out are the highest rated thoughts. We're building positive relationships between students and law enforcement. Children's safety, number one. With the remote location of the school, an officer on on-site equals quick response and response time while back up arrives. And the last one is training and education was one of the highest rated. I should have blown my slides up. I thought it would be bigger on the screen. Is there any way to make that a little bit bigger if you pull it back? That's okay. I'll keep plugging along. I would have made my slides here much bigger if I usually can see in distance, but this is very, very tight. So those are the top three of the thoughts. The slide that's up there right now is the themes, and you can see miscellaneous, which is basically all different words. There's a big category of that, and then each one of the themes, those where they put the thought. Go ahead to the next one. And again, the top themes by star score. You can see that rated across each one of these key themes were rated pretty equally across the board. So if you go under the theme SRO, you'll see there are three thoughts that are the top rated thoughts under SRO: training and education, continued education and training and school resource officer, and training and realistic ability of the SRO in events of an emergency. So that tells us that under the SRO, the community believes it's important if we end up going forward with an SRO, they want to make sure that education training is an important part of the process of keeping an SRO. Under next one, feeling safe, safety of students and staff, that had a 4.5 rating, provide a safe environment for all students to learn, and safety of students, safety of staff. Those are the top three rated thoughts. Under children's safety, our children's safety should be priority number one. Safety of our children and our staff, rated at a 4.4, and safety of our children and staff, the future, under 4.4. Under the category district, and again, the computer itself creates these categories based upon the words that are used in the phrases. So under district, which is very difficult to read, I'm going to try adjusting the focus on that.
That's better.
It would just make that big. don't know, like display settings.
That's a lot better. You can read it.
It's a thinking thing. I'll do my best.
So under district safety, SRO is an additional resource to help keep our district safe. That rated 4.4. We need to develop a plan for an SRO to be visible in the building. SRO will need to develop a relationship with students that throughout the district. It's important for an SRO to be a school district, trying to change and supporting the collaborative, support for students well worth the money. 4.4 out of 5. Under the thought resource officer, the resource officer's background and training and time has come that are necessary. How with them know what to do it. Very much in favor of adding SEO or visible police level presence in the school, keep us safe and deter any violence. Health and safety of children, families, well as familiarity with an officer, all really involved. The next one is safety. Again, they're all around supplement to our current security safety tools, safety and student safety to staff, security and safety of students and staff. Safety of students and staff.
Under the category law enforcement,
Building positive relationship between students and law enforcement. In addition to security, students can personally experience personal relationship with law enforcement. Safety first for our students in general, always about 4.4.
as we go through this, I'm going to skip a couple of these because the categories are continue to go on. This entire PowerPoint will go on the district website along with what I showed the board, which was all of the thoughts, which is you can see all 199 thoughts and how they rated from 1.7 all the way up to 4.5 or 4.6, and you kind of get an idea where the districts or where the community's perspective is at.
This one is protect. What's going on lately entirely in favor of our children, protecting that children in favor of reset up and say that my son. Again, all of them are involved. Or the word one is used quite a bit. I think I would give parents and community members peace of mind to have one being this SRO. I'd love to see one in the school at peace of mind. I wonder why we don't have one already. Children need to feel safe and secure, and parents need peace of mind and all of that. All three of those things above 4.1. Wrap up the next step.
And obviously, I want to thank the entire community for participating in this thought exchange. And I hope that, I sent the information and reviewed it with the Board of Education. And I hope the board felt that the thought exchange was a useful tool in kind of gauging where the community and the state and our stakeholders were in relation to a school resource officer. It was evident from that thought exchange that there was a majority of the people were in favor of a school resource officer being in Wilson. And more importantly, there also was an evidence that obviously we have to be mindful of the cost. We also have to be mindful of the fact, it's not about putting one on and then having to remove one because of the cost. So it's something we're going to have to be able to sustain over time. And also that there's, measurable outcomes for the school resource officer. We don't want, that person should become a viable part of our school community. There should be outcomes. We evaluate our teachers, we evaluate our administrators, and why we won't have individual evaluation total over this resource officer. We will have the ability to evaluate the program. I did engage the sheriff's office after our last conversation, board members, and about what an agreement would look like. And I have a sample of what an agreement would look like. I'll have that for you in your news and notes. It's not a final an agreement, but it's just a sample of one that could be used. And I also have scheduled a safety committee meeting to have conversations about what would an evaluation tool be for finding out what the effectiveness of a school resource officer would be. So, in my, I plan on recommending to the board as we move towards August, recommending to the Board of Education based upon the information that I have from the district administrators, the safety team, the school community, that parent or the public forum. I plan on making a recommendation to the board that we move forward and put a school resource officer on campus for the 2022-2023 school year, which would be hopefully in September. Any question, board members? It is my plan to not only move it forward for the 2022-2023 school year, but to have at the earliest an agreement with the county. It's not just the sheriff's office, but it's also the county, an agreement with the county around that school resource officer. In the agreement, I think the sheriff heard what the community had said and what the board had asked during that public forum, because in the agreement, it clearly says that a representative from the district would be part of the hiring process. There's a plan in there for, an article of the agreement that deals with if we're not happy with the chosen school resource office and how we go about doing that, and that the person is directly reports to me. So that all of those individual questions and comments that we had were, to me, it looks like it was addressed. Again, I will get that draft agreement to the board this Friday to take a look at, and we'll continue to work through that between now and our August board meeting. And that is my report out for school resource officer. Again, I'll have this PowerPoint on the district's webpage along with a list of all of the thoughts. So anyone in the community can take a look at what the results were. And that is my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Carter. Any comments, board members? I know it's been stated by the superintendent just a few moments ago, but I certainly would like to thank anybody that participated in the forum, as well as the thought exchange. It's really important that the community weighs in on something as significant as a spend as this, because quite frankly, board members, it's as much or more than adding an instructional staff member. And I know that the superintendent is going to be close and work closely with the selection process, as well as implementing the program and evaluating the program that he's been tasked to do. So if there's nothing else, Superintendent, we can move on to B, policy review.
Just wanted to put a tiny little piece at the end of this. I mean, I think most of the board knows where I fall on many of these topics when it relates to, our political makeup. I did participate in a superintendent forum with our local representatives over the beginning of July. And one of the things that came up that I will continue to advocate for is that there needs to be funding allocated for safety school resource officers. It is appalling to me that this falls on the local school districts to be able to have to do. I think we talked about it in previous meetings. The easiest solution is, make the sheriff's office and put it part of their budget to put one in every school district and give them grant funding or whatever money you need to do to give them to be able to put that in, and allow us to focus on what we're good at, which is education. But until that happens, that mechanism may be slower. Until that happens, I think it is prudent for us not to wait, but to move forward. Under policy reviews, board members, I believe you have 3. Hopefully you're in the same order that mine are in, and if not, I'll give you a chance to switch. The first one I'm going to do is policy 1221, student serving as ex officio board member to the Board of Education. This policy went in effect in 2021, and I engaged a conversation with our government teacher, Mr. Stack, on how we could go ahead and implement this. Sat down with him, and he has a plan to move forward in September of this year, in early part of September, to put a student board member in place. However, when reading the policy, he clearly indicated if our first draft of the policy has in it that the student would need to be at least 18 years old. He said it automatically eliminates half of our senior class, because half of our senior class is 18 and the other half is 17. So we're going to eliminate most of the kids from being able to participate with this. Mrs. Pavan, as usual, did her diligent work and did some research and found out that there's no need for a age requirement. So I'm proposing that we move forward with the first read of this policy, crossing out the age requirement in red. Any questions, board member, problems? Okay. That will move forward as our first read. Second one I have is policy 7535, which is student gender identity. In March of 2022, Policy Service revised sample policy 7552 in response to the Gender Recognition Act, which amended, among other things, Section 64 of the Civil Rights Law to require districts to update their individual names on any documents or records issued maintained by the district upon submission of a name change order or a documentation of a name change. So that was why we had to look at this policy in May. And then within weeks after that, the Policy Service received Senate Bill S708 was signed into law, which changed the phrase to other documentation, the word other documentation to other government issued documentation or court issued documentation of a name change. So it specifically says in order for us to change names on our official documents, we would have to have a government document or a court issued document of a name change. So therefore, that is the change to the policy as you read it. There's no other change than that. The blue and the red were the same blue and red from the last revision. Board members, do you have any questions about policy 7535? Yep. Absolutely.
All now federal law.
Yes.
What dictates that we have to do this? Because there's certain parts in this, and I've seen circumstances that have come up lately that really make some of these parts not safe for kids. And I'm just wondering if this is a New York State rule, or is this a federal, or what? Where does it come from?
It both. So some of it is a federal change. So the first change is a federal change. The single-use bathroom, which is one of the things that usually comes up, that's a, I don't know if it's state or federal, but that is law that you have to have single-use bathrooms, and they have to be designated as single-use or family bathrooms. So that's why we designate ours as the family bathroom. The guidelines around changing areas, that has been in place since before I was a building principal in Niagara Wheatfield. I would say 10 years that's been in place. Again, I don't know. I mean, I could get the specifics behind it. I know there was a law change. It's usually a change to the civil rights law. That's what usually dictates the change.
Where do the districts fall in line if something does happen in a
And in regards to,
situation like that, where, say, for instance, in a boys' bath or a girls' bathroom where a transgender student causes a problem in there? I don't want to elaborate on the problem. And what responsibility does the district have to make that safe for all the kids?
I mean, most of the time it's a conversation with the student, it's a conversation with the parent. And, you know, all my time that I've been an administrator, that conversation has worked out. The student uses, in the high school here, which is probably where more of the issues would happen, the kids use the single-use bathroom. So, or they go to the nurse's office. I can't think of an incident where there's been an issue. If there was, we deal like a discipline problem, regardless of the person's gender. And the locker room for Wilson is an easy one. We have a locker room that is not occupied by any student down by the fitness center. And if somebody wants to change in a different locker room, they have that to be able to use. So we've never had an issue with the locker room. That doesn't mean we don't. And a lot of that is just having the conversation with the parent, conversation with the student, and making sure that everybody feels as comfortable as possible. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Yes, to a certain extent, yes.
But as the law part, I know there's laws behind each one of these changes, or policy service wouldn't be bringing them forward. I can get the specific laws.
No, I'm sure you're correct on that. I wonder what our responsibility is as a school district in regards to all these changes.
The best case I can say is we need to be respectful and treat all our kids the same. And that, to the best of our ability, we do that. Any other questions about policy 7535? I'll move that forward to first read. This next one, which is policy, I gotta look at it again. 8320, which is selection of library material and audio visual material. As you can see on the first page, it's a total rewrite. They crossed out everything. And then in blue is what the new material, the new policy is going to look like. And it turns into 3 pages of material. I'm going to read the policy pulse to help explain where this sort of came from. Our district explanation of these changes are included in the quarterly summary recommended policy service change. The sample policy was revised to emphasize the district's curriculum must align with the state's curriculum and include any specific language required by law, regulations, and guidance, definitions of curriculum, instruction, state learning standards, and added to clarity to what terms, meanings when used in policy. These terms may be different meanings in different contexts. It also puts a process in behind selection of this of materials. This particular policy was revised along with, if you remember, 2 months ago we did the objectionable material policy, and they were revised because policy service believed that other districts in other states were getting challenged by the community members about the materials in which they had available to their students. And what policy service did was align this selection of materials to the New York State standards of what materials can be used in a classroom And then more importantly, put in a process for if a community member does object to a material, there's a process of putting a committee together and looking at the committee. I know that Trustee Stewart went to the conference along with our two librarians, our two district librarians. I attended online, but that whole conference was designed around the challenges that not only librarians, but school districts are getting in regards to material in which the community believes is not appropriate for students to see. So this particular policy was basically aligning, saying that if you're going to, the material that you select should be aligned with New York State learning standards, should be aligned with the New York State guidelines around curriculum. And then if there's an objection, there's a process of putting that through to the district. So that's my overview of the changes to this policy. This one was a total rewrite. And again, that's why we gave it to you in your board packet last week to get a chance to take a look at it. And if you had any questions, I'll do my best to answer. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you. Does anybody have any questions about this policy? Mm-hmm.
Policies come from both certain department.
Yep, there's.
So punctuation and things like that.
Yep. And policy service is a legal service. It's Erie Winvosey's legal team that creates the policy. So they come from two sources. The majority come from them when there's a change to law or when there's issues that are going around the country and they think that policies need to be revised to allow our district to handle those issues more effectively. Policy changes sometimes come from the district itself. When we wanted a student ex officio board member, we didn't have a policy, so we searched out one and sent it to policy service to look at. Sometimes we had a parent question a video that a teacher was showing in classroom, a clip of a movie. So the first thing I always do when a parent calls is I said, I listen to the situation. I said, you got to give me some time to research this. And the first place, and I'll get back to you. And the first place I go to is our policy manual. I pull up the policy and I looked at it and it said the last time it was looked at was 1985. I'm like, well, we better take a look at that again. So I pulled that policy, I read it, I answered the parent's question, we worked through the situation. I took the policy, I walked it to Mrs. Pavana, I said, we're going to review this at the next district shared decision-making team meeting. And we did, so that's the other way is if I come across a policy that I think is outdated, we should take a look at. Policy service does do an audit every year, so I think we're due for one this year, so we're going to probably have a bulk of them to look at coming up, which is always fun. But that's how usually these policies come up. And those are the three policies.
Thank you, Superintendent Carter. As stated, they'll be in our next August meeting for approval. Item C, board member resignation procedure. As announced at the July 12, 2022 Board of Education meeting, board member Frank Chipola has resigned from his position as board member of the Wilson Central School District effective July 13, 2022. The board has officially accepted his resignation. With the departure of Trustee Chipola, the board will be appointing a member to fill the position through June 30, 2023. It is anticipated that the new board member will be appointed at the September 13, 2022 regular board meeting. The following board vacancy announcement will be posted on the district's website and placed in the Niagara Gazette and the Lockport Union-Summit Journal. Board of Education of Wilson School District is seeking candidates to fill a vacant board seat through June 30, 2023. If you are a district resident interested in public education, the school board invites you to submit a letter to be considered for appointment to the 7-member board. The deadline for this is Friday, August 12, 2022. Board members serve without pay and attend regular board meetings, work sessions, as well as special meetings. They are also liaisons to various school and community committees. Their duties are diverse, ranging from developing and adopting the annual budget to approving policy. They also have opportunities to interact directly with students, staff, parents, and community members by visiting the schools and participating in activities. To be considered for the board, you must be a U.S. citizen, age 18 or older, able to read and write, and a legal resident of the district for at least 1 year. A board member cannot be an employee of the district or simultaneously hold another incompatible public office and cannot live in the same household with a family member who is also on the board. The deadline for submission of letters of interest is Friday, August 12, 2022. The appointment will take place after all interested parties are interviewed. The position would be listed on the ballot at the annual vote and election in May 2023, along with the 2 other board seats up for a 3-year term. District residents who are interested in filling this position may either email or mail a letter of application to Jennifer Pavon, District Clerk, Wilson Central School District, 374 Lake Street, Wilson, New York, 14172, or email at jpavon@wilsoncsd.org. If you have any questions, please call 751-9399. This will be posted, correct, Mrs. Pavon, on our website tomorrow. It's not already up there, and it will be in the paper at least twice. Is it? Yeah.
And board members, as you know from the email I sent, Mrs. Levon sent this to the newspaper to be posted as a press release to go out tomorrow morning. And one of our local journalists saw it and decided to do an article on it, and may have called one or more than one of you. The only thing he neglected to do was to get confirmation from the district. And we have, actually, Mrs. Oliveri had a very frank conversation with that journalist about protocol and if he wants to continue to be in good favor with the district, to wait until you hear from the district before you just go put an article out there. But that being said, it's out there. We've already been receiving phone calls and things about the position. So it was unfortunate, but that journalist decided it was news and did not want to wait until tomorrow to send it out.
Thank you. Board members, the timing of that interview and as far as the date and time, we'll discuss after we receive all the applications. It really depends on how many interested parties we have on what night we select. And I may ask you to come on a traditional non-board member meeting if needed. Any questions around procedure, board members? Under 3 personnel appointments, A, summer of 2022 staffing for Regents proctoring and scoring. Teachers will be paid $36 per hour. Not all teachers will participate, but are being appointed to ensure sufficient coverage should an unexpected need arise. Chris Braley, Carrie Choate, Laura Kingston, Nicole Payne, David Robinson, Christine Rowland, Jeff Hart, Melissa Sipple, Mary Johnson, Todd Skopchak, Dan Lisinski, Karen Maurer, Christine Waters, Deborah Schultz, Christina Palermo, and Jacob Vivian. Can I have a motion? So, second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item B, summer of 2022 staffing, following special education teachers will be paid $36 per hour to complete the indicator 13 state education reporting review. Chris Braley, Marcia Adino, Christine Rowland, Rebecca Myers, Melanie Hirschman, Daniel Lisinski, Jacob Vivian, Megan Zeller, Ryan Friedrich, and Stacy Danaher. Can I have a motion? Second. Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item C, Nicole Seeley as mentor coordinator for the 2022-2023 school year for the WTA agreement. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item D, middle school advisors for the 2022-2023 for the WTA agreement, Brian Baker, Photo Club video advisor, Ronald Mulberg, National Junior Honor Society advisor, Karen Eloisio, middle school newspaper advisor, Scott and Janelle Harvey, middle school student council advisors. Position will be split 50% each. Scott Benton, conservation club advisor, Karen Eloisio and Corey McCarthy, Interact Club Advisors. Position will be split 50% each. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item E, high school advisors for the 2022-2023 school year for the WTA agreement. Garrett Stack, high school student council advisor. Jamie Leps, junior class advisor. Alyssa Boron, sophomore class advisor. Jamie Lepsch, makeup advisor. Paige Hardison, stage crew advisor. Christine Waters, high school national honor society advisor. Christina Palermo, yearbook advisor. Jamie Lepsch, SAD advisor. Chad Lefevre, district photographer. Sean Nevins, Scholastic Bowl advisor. Christina Palermo, NAF Business Honors Club advisor. And Bonnie Simpson, Audio Visual Club advisor. Can I have a motion? So moved. Second. Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item F, Claudia Andres as high middle school music director for 2022-2023 for the WTA agreement. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item G, Steve Frericks is unpaid volunteer assistant for JV football for the 2022-2023 fall season under the direct supervision of Coach Dan Rosinski. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item H, Marissa Rubar as unpaid volunteer assistant for varsity field hockey for the 2022-2023 fall season under the direct supervision of Coach Jamie Lepsch. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Under 4 other A, accept student activity fund for fourth quarter report for the period of April 1, 2022 through June 30, 2022. Can I have a motion? So moved. Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, policies A, we've already discussed this. Superintendent Carter, you have a conference report.
I do. Beginning of July, I attended the Rural Schools Association conference, not only as a conference attendee, but one of their new board members. So I also attended the board meeting for rural schools. And I'm sure I'm quickly going to get involved with some advocacy and related to Albany, because I know that the director, Dave Riddle, knows I'm interested in that. The conference itself was probably one of the best conferences I've been in regards to keynote speakers. They had 4 keynote speakers, and each one of them was not only more interesting than the other, but had a different take on educational system. The 2 that really jumped to mind was Brian Daggett, who talked about technology and how technology has changed over the years. And and how it's going to change as we move forward. And one of his pushes are, and I don't know how, I can't tell you I 100% back it and support it, but he talks about the importance of focusing on the skills that kids need in order to use the technology and focus less on the content, because as we move forward in education, the content is at the kids' figures. We need to teach the kids how to use the tools appropriately and ethically. And he went into all sorts of what the next technology piece is going to be, and I'm not going to bore you with that. And the other one was a keynote speaker who wrote a book called To Lead is to Teach. And why that probably connected to me the most is one of the things that I've always thought as a leader, the importance of, as I went from the classroom to the principal's office, now the superintendent's office, I always tell people my classroom just keeps getting bigger. And I think that's important as leaders, whether you're a leader in the classroom, a facilitator of technology or curriculum, you're a building principal, you're a business official, you're a director of facility, your classroom is all the people that you work with. And our job as leaders is to not only to learn ourselves, but to help the people we're working with to continue to learn. Don't go away. So I thought it was a great, liked it so much. I know that Mrs. Stewart always asks me, so how are we going to bring this information to the district? So I actually went out and purchased a copy of each one of the book for each one of the administrators, and it's going to be the focus of our administrative retreat. Is this concept is in order to be a leader, we need to continue to be a teacher. So that's my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Trustee Wilson, do you have a report from your
Yes.
board?
So as part of my required training as a school board member, I took part in the New York State School Board Association New School Board Academy. I did the online only training that was offered for the month of June. State times. It was 2 separate courses: the Essentials of School Board Governance and Fiscal Oversight Fundamentals. Approximately 8 hours to complete both of those total. The Essentials of School Board Governance course helped me understand my role on the board, as well as my role in board member community. The course taught an overview of the laws and responsibilities of the school board, explained the role of the school board in policy development, and provided an understanding of the roles and responsibilities of the board in relationship between the board and the superintendent. One of the sections I liked about that, because I wasn't able to attend the in-person trainings, was that there was a group discussion. There was shapes profiling. Basically, you were asked to choose one of the 5 shapes, and that we felt best described our leadership style, and discuss that with the group, and we were able to see what other members chose, why you thought it was you or didn't fit you. So that was kind of neat. You could interact a little bit with some of the other members. The other course, the Fiscal Oversight Fundamentals, I thought was pretty straightforward. I thought the board's role and responsibilities in safeguarding district resources, comment about the board's role in district finance, establishing fiscal policy. Of course, also gave you an understanding of the board's role in developing the school district budget. Overall, I feel the training was very beneficial, as both the courses provided a good foundation to build on as I begin my role as a board member.
Thank you. Trustee Stewart, do you have anything new from those?
Yes, we finally hit the spot. August 18th is the next 6 to 8 in Southwest.
Oh, close to home. Little influence there, Mrs. Stewart.
No, I am interested now.
Thank you. Superintendent Carter, do you have a report?
Yes, just a couple things. First of all, board members, you saw the list of retirees we had this year, 13 or 14 in all, and we're at the final stages of the hiring process. We got on pretty quick this year. Our personnel specialist, Amy Phillips, did an awesome job and a yeoman's job, along with everything else that's going on in the business office, keeping that organized. At the August board meeting, we should be hiring the final teacher and have that person in place. we're down to, I think, a couple teacher aides, and then those are already posted. So we should be moving forward with all of our hires for the school year. I have new teacher and new staff orientation on August 31st and September 1st. They're basically 8 to 3 sessions the morning of the first session. The new hires are with me. In the afternoon, they can go work in their office or their classroom to get that set up. And then the second morning, they're with our technology department learning whatever they need to know about how to log in to the various programs that we have. So that's our new staff orientation, August 31st and September 1st. The district calendar is just about complete. The large version of the district calendar will go out. We did a little bit of a change to the front cover. Instead of the 3 school buildings, we took one of the aerial photographies of the aerial photos of the entire campus and put that on the front cover this year. So I think it's a nice little change to the district calendar. Again, that should go out. We made the inside, instead of being 1 month per page, we took 2 months per page, made it a little bigger, hopefully a little more user friendly and able to write for those of us who still write on calendars. Yes, you'll be able to read it. New York State School Boards Association advocacy resolution process. It is that time of year again. Mrs. Stewart reminded me, I received while I was on vacation, the resolution kit. A few years ago, we put a resolution in, and every year Mrs. Stewart ends up going to the convention and is the district's representative to the business meeting that votes on all of the resolutions, and then those resolutions are set forward in policy and as they advocate to Albany. If last year we did not put a resolution in. If one of the board members or a majority of the board members have something that you want me to, specifically work on, I can do that. I'll put the resolution kit into the news and notes this Friday. If you have a specific topic that you want me to focus on, I can certainly start working on that. The resolution would have to go to them before the end of, I forgot the deadline. I don't know. Yeah, August 1st. So we don't necessarily have a board meeting, but that doesn't mean that I can still put the resolution in and we can vote on it afterwards. It's not a timing issue with that. They just need to see it in their hand. And we were late one year and they still took it. So I'm not worried about the timing. If we have a resolution or a topic you want me to work on, I can certainly do that. I didn't have anything that popped up the top of my head. But that doesn't mean as we move forward, possibly we do something with the SRO, focusing on funding. I just thought of one because we just talked about the school resource officer, and maybe we could use this platform as our first swing through trying to use school boards association and funding for school resource officers or safety. I'll try and put something together with and put it through to the board to take a look at on Friday. So sounds like we do have a topic. I just got to remember that. Board members, in your news and notes, I mentioned the 2 signals, the traffic signals, the one on Young Street, the one on 425. I sent the letters out. I was surprised how quickly I got responses back. The State Department of Transportation for the signal on 425, they thanked me for my concern, and they will begin a traffic engineering investigation study of whether or not we need to put one on the front of that building. I don't know what their response is. Niagara County was a little different. Niagara County is the road which Young's, I did Wilson Burt, Young's Road. They quickly reminded us that the signal at the elementary school is the districts. Nobody takes care of that but us now. And they basically said they don't have the people to be able to do a study or anything like that. So they kind of left the one on Young Street sort of up to us to figure out what to do. I'll take this back to the safety committee and we'll have to decide what the district wants to do. They're more than welcome to point us in the direction of someone that could do the study. But of course, they're not going to pay for it, and they're not going to pay for a single. So I will take it back to the safety committee and see what they want to, how pressing this issue is. Board members, I have two other quick items in your packet I received today. Is a letter I wrote in support for the village. The village is putting in another swing on a grant to continue the conversation about not only the bike path along Route 18, but also their connection for the sewage treatment plant going to Newfane. The village mayor asked if the district would be in support of the village doing that, and if we'd be willing to put a letter in. I had no problem. We've done it in the past. I just want to let the board know that we want to continue to work with the village and the town on projects like this. While there is a benefit to the community, when you're writing grants, many times they want letters of support from the local municipalities in order to know that the grant is, before the grant's going to be awarded. So that letter will go to the village mayor tomorrow. The last thing is, I know we mentioned it at a previous board workshop, and I had it in news and notes at least once, but there's a couple questions that have come up about the August 11th goal setting session. And I just want to lock it down. If you have your calendars, if not, if you could just put that in your mind, August 11th, we moved it to the day at 10 o'clock because of two reasons. One, we used to hold it at 6 o'clock after that August board workshop. And by the time the workshop's over and we start the goal setting session, we never seem to be able to get the energy to finish it. And then we have to go next day, or we have to do small breakout groups in order to get the goal done. So this year I suggested we try to do it during the day. I do have my retreat. We take a portion of the retreat. It conflicts to that day is, and I know that I've talked to, I know President Waters is not 100% sure he's able to make that. I know that Trustee Crop is not able to attend. Is anyone else not able to attend? It's a Thursday, August 10th
I thought
at 10 o'clock.
Nice.
Sorry, Thursday, August 11th. Thursday, August 11th. Okay. The only other option we have, and even for years prior, we can move it later. I mean, the goals we set are not, I mean, we use them throughout the year. So we could move it to September, but, or in years in the future, we can move it to July. That August meeting is just such a tough time of year in the schools. Many of the administrators, department heads, there's a lot going on at the end of August with the audit going on, with getting the buildings ready. We have orientations and kindergarten and pre-K and 6th grade and 9th grade.
It's so nice.
And that's also once. And so it was my suggestion to move it away from the August meeting, but I also know that, we don't want to have a goal setting session and half of our board members can't make it. So as of right now, I have one definitely can't make it and two are not sure. So we'll try to firm that up if Mr. Carlin and President Waters could get back to me, and if we need to move it, we can move it. There's always something I can plug in that spot. It would. It certainly would. But it's not depending on the time of year, it's not necessarily advantageous for all of our administrators to be there too. So I was trying to sort of move it around a little. I'll reach out and you'll know very soon whether or not we're gonna keep it on the 11th or not. It'll be about 2 hours. I have from 10 to 12 and then lunch at 12 o'clock. And that's everything I have.
Thank you, Superintendent. I'd like to apologize to newly elected Vice President Chris Carlin for not congratulating him at the last meeting. That was a miss on my part, so congratulations, Carlin. Appreciate you having you here and your willingness to serve. I did want to specifically mention my thanks to the countless hiring committees that we've had in the school this year. It's unprecedented for a school this size to hire that many staff, and it's not. I mean, very little of it was instructional in this case, and there was a lot of support staff, and there's a lot of people that are going to be missed. And I really appreciate everybody's work on those hiring committees, and especially the volunteers that take their time out of their personal lives and do that. Board members, do you have anything to add tonight? I'll open up for public forum. If anybody would like to address the board, please state your name and address prior and keep your comments brief.
I just want to let you know I'm interested. I hired from the Treasury Department 5 years now, so I have time, I have interest. Thanks all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your interest.
Anyone else?
Amy?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks for coming.